Hey, geometry students, Mr. Zacek here. We're on Unit 1, Lesson 6, and we're going to talk about midpoint today. And midpoint is formula is going to help us to find either the midpoint or an endpoint given two endpoints when we're working on the coordinate plane. So as you see, we have this drawing here, x1, y1, x sub m, y sub m, x sub 2, y sub 2. So, excuse me, sorry about that. So this is our first point, x sub 1, y sub 1. This is our other endpoint, x sub 2, y sub 2. And then the middle is just x sub n, y sub m. That just means this one's in the middle. So here is the formula for midpoint. Now, the goal is we're going to end up with a point. So points we write in parentheses, and this is x sub 1 plus x sub 2 divided by 2, comma. So all of that's going to simplify down to be the x value, y sub 1 plus y sub 2 divided by 2. Close the parentheses. Okay, now I have a song here to help you remember. Oh no, that I'm going to sing. Come back, screen. All right. So here we go. x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. The midpoint formula, that's for you. You have to add and divide by 2. x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. The midpoint formula, that's for you. You have to add and divide by 2. Earmuffs, and the earmuffs at the end are about these parentheses here on there, okay? So that's the formula for the midpoint, and let's go do some examples here on how the different types of questions. So the first one, EF has endpoint 7, 5, and F is 2, negative 4, and we can see those 2 points here on this grid that we're given. What are the coordinates of its midpoint? So we're trying to find the midpoint. I'm going to show you how to do the formula and then how to do the graph. So the first thing that I like to do is point E is 7, 5. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to label this x sub 1, y sub 1 because it's my first point. And then F is 2, negative 4. Okay, now here's what, and so I'm going to label that x sub 2, y sub 2. So what I'm trying to find here now is the midpoint of this segment EF. Okay, so I'm going to write out the formula. x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. The midpoint formula, that's for you. You have to add and divide by 2. So the midpoint of EF, and we're going to substitute in. So we're going to do 7 plus 2 all over 2, comma, 5 plus negative 4 all over 2. Whenever that second number is a negative, it's always a good idea to put it in parentheses. Okay, so now we're going to simplify this. So the midpoint of EF is going to be 7 plus 2, which would be 9 halves. And 5 plus negative 4 would be 1 half. Okay, and so we've found the midpoint there. Now you might write that as 9 halves is going to be 4.5, and 1 half would be 0.5. That's an equivalent way that we could write it. So let's go over here and look at our graph. Now we see on our graph we're going up by ones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4.5. And the y scale is also going by ones, so up a half, and that would be our midpoint. Now, when you're looking at midpoint, you want to think about the middle, and one of the ways to do that is by drawing in kind of a right triangle, and then just counting these distances. So the change here in x is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, so 9. So when you do that, if you take half of 5, that's half of 5 would be, so 5 divided by 2 is 2.5. And 9 divided by 2 would be 4.5. You could just count over. So over 2.5 would be here. That's halfway. And 9, half of 9 is up. 1, 2, 3, 4.5. So basically we're creating two kind of smaller triangles that are the same there. Okay, and we found the midpoint. So we've got the graph, we've got the formula. I think you guys see that here. Let's do another example. All right, what is the midpoint of RS with endpoints R and S? So notice that we're given the endpoints. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this first one x sub 1, y sub 1. Next one I'm going to call x sub 2, y sub 2. Okay, and I'm going to write out the midpoint formula again. Repetition is the mother of learning. x1 plus x2 divided by 2, comma, y1 plus y2 divided by 2. The midpoint formula, that's for you. You have to add and divide by 2. All right, don't forget the parentheses. So the midpoint of RS is going to be x1, which is 5, plus x2, which is 3, divided by 2, and y1, which is negative 10, plus y2, which is 6, divided by 2. Now, you know, one of the biggest mistakes people make on this is just copying errors. Like they bring the wrong number down. So this kind of, you know, giving attention to that is going to be helpful for you. So the midpoint then of RS, so 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 divided by 2 is 4. Negative 10 plus 6 is negative 4. Negative 4 divided by 2 would be negative 2. So that's going to come out to be 4. Negative 2 is the midpoint of RS. And it's important that you write midpoint of RS so we know what we're talking about. All right, two more examples. All right, now this one's a little bit different, okay? This time it says the midpoint of CD. Notice we're given the midpoint is this, okay? So this is our midpoint. One endpoint is negative 5, 7. What are the coordinates of the other endpoint? D. Okay, when it's on a graph like this, the simplest way to do this is simply by counting. Okay, we have an endpoint right here at C. So let's count down and let's count over. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we want down 6, 1, 2, 3, over 3. That got us to the middle. Well, how are we going to get to the other side? Do the same thing. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, over 3. That puts us down here, and that would be D, which is going to be the coordinates 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, negative 5. So D would be, let me write this out. So D would be 1, negative 5. All right, now to do that in an algebraic way, sometimes what we'll do is we'll write this out, and we've got it here on that graph, but here's another way you can do that same kind of question. We'll write it out like this, and we'll say, okay, our first endpoint C is the point negative 5, 7. Our midpoint is negative 2, 1. Here's how you can think about that. What did I do for those x values to change? Well, we went from negative 5 to negative 2. That means we had to add 3. All right. Then what did we do for the y value to change? I went from 7 to 1. That means I went down 6. Well, hey, let's just repeat that process. To get to our other endpoint, let's add another 3. So negative 2 plus 3 would be 1. And let's add another, subtract another 6, excuse me. So 1 minus 6 would be negative 5. So either way, it gives you a couple different ways to think about that question. And we'll try one more example here with number 4 that's similar to that. The midpoint, okay, again, pay special attention. Very common mistake, people misinterpret this. The midpoint of AB has coordinates 4, 9, okay? So this is the midpoint. Endpoint A has coordinate negative 3, negative 5. What are the coordinates of B? All right, so let's kind of use that same strategy that I just showed you. Let's write a line like this out. Now we could do it on the coordinate plane, that would work fine, but sometimes this is just a little bit faster. So A is negative 3, negative 5, and our midpoint is 4, negative 9. We're trying to find the other endpoint here. Okay, let's get colorful. So I went from negative 3 up to 4. How did that change? Well, that changed by going up 7. One way you could calculate that is 4 minus negative 3 equals 7. So that means we're going to need to add another 7 over here. And so our x coordinate would be 4 plus 7, which would be 11. Okay, then let's try the y. So negative 5 down to negative 9. So you calculate that, you do negative 9 minus negative 5. Okay, that went down 4. So if we do that again, down 4 from negative 9 would end us up at negative 13. Okay, and what are the coordinates of B? So that's B is the coordinates 11, negative 13. All right, so two types, again, just to quickly review. The first type that we have is the type where we have both endpoints and we need to find the midpoint, and we can use the formula. And the other one, we're going to graph it out here. Okay, time to be done. Announcements are on. Good luck.